Hello! Today I want to showcase an application built with Overmind to explain the basics of it. So, we can see here there's an empty page, no posts, and then we load the posts. We saw the load indicator and then we show the post length 100. We can see with the Devtools of Overmind what's going on in our application. For example, here we can see if we are loading posts or not. In this case, we are not. The amount of posts that we have, 100 in this case, and then we can see a derived state, this display text that says post length 100. Okay, let's refresh the application to see what's the state. So the initial state is 0 items in posts. Actually, we can expand this. Then we can see that this display text is no posts. Okay, and then when we load them, we can see quickly this goes through and then goes to false and brings these items, and then the derived text changes. This gives you a lot of insight about your application state. But that's not the only feature of this Devtool. We have this actions viewer. We can see that the action that we fire is load posts, and we can actually see what is the step-by-step changes that this action is doing. And we can see very clearly we will set loading posts to true. We'll set posts to this array with 100 items. And then we will set this loading post to false. It also shows here that there is a synchronous request basically to this API. And then down here it shows what component and what derived states are connected with the states that this action has modified. So we can see there is one component and there is one derived state that will be affected by this action. And then we have the components. We can see that the app component has been updated twice and that it's watching different paths, different pieces of our state. It's watching this, and this path, which means that if this or this or this piece of data changes, this app component will be updated. But if other pieces of data are changed, this component won't be updated. And then we can see this is flashes. It's a little bit hard to see, but there is a little line here. So there is two flashes. The first flash is this one. Sorry, the first one is this one. Set is loading post to true. This happens and our component updated. And then the second flash is when the API returns the asynchronous action resolves, and then we execute these two changes. Let's say they will only paint the UI once, and then the loading indicator is loading posts, and the posts are set in the state, and then we flash that change to our app component. And that's why it was saying that it was updated twice, even though it only fired one action. Okay. Yeah, and then there's this console that shows a lot of information, more like internals of this Overmind application. So it can be useful for debugging very deep problems or for developing the Overmind application itself. But I think that the most useful are the first four for daily use, let's say. So, well, I'm going to show you now the code. This is a React app, as you can see here, but you could connect Vue application, an Angular application. There is bindings for those. And yeah, this is the overmind page, and you can actually use the guides, and you can say like, I want to use TypeScript, or I don't want to use TypeScript, and then the code changes. Also, if you want Vue, example, Vue with TypeScript or without it. So yeah, that's pretty nice feature of this overmind page. And let's jump to the code. So here it is, our app component. We can see that there is an overmind prop that it's using to retrieve state and like display text, which is actually a derived text, as we will see. And we can see that the overmind prop also holds the actions. In this case, the action load posts. So let's see what is the state display text. And we can see here the implementation. Display text, it's a derived state that takes this state object and transform it into a string. Here we have it. If we are loading posts, we want to display the loading text. If that's not true, then if the post length is 0, we want to show null posts. And if that's not true, then we want to show post's length and the length of the post. Yeah, and this is defined in the state of our application. So you can either decide to set an initial state for each field, or you can also define derived states that will update every time the state updates. And that's the case of display text. And then there is another way to define a state, which is this get syntax. Yeah, the get syntax is just lets you write a getter, and the overmind library understands this, and we will make it available for you. Yeah. So this is the state, and this part of here is the TypeScript definitions. My project is using TypeScript. I think this library takes advantage of TypeScript in a very nice way. And every part of the application, you will see that with level F4 you will have the TypeScript help at all time. And that's very, very nice that the library fits into TypeScript nicely, and there is no like a lot of work to do to make our library understand our application or bind it to TypeScript. Yeah, and that's because the library was always implemented thinking in make the most out of TypeScript. So that's state, as we can see quickly. And then what is this action load post? We'll see. So load post is actually an asynchronous action that it takes a context param, and it will change the state. We are writing normal code mutations, and then it awaits for this API call and sets the post state, and finally sets the loading indicator in false. And what is this context here? So the context will be param that will be injected to your actions by default and by overmind, and it will contain the state of your application, the whole state, because this is a single tree library, single state tree library, and then you will have every effect that you define it available here. For example, this one is the JSON placeholder effect, and it's a little API that has this getPost method. So let's see that. What's an effect? So this is an object that it's an API basically, and it will have this method to fetch this information. So Overmind advises you to write effects like this in a separate place. This will make your application easier to test because actions won't depend on these implementations of the effects. You can replace them, inject them what you want. Yeah, so that's the load post thing. And as we can see, this also has the TypeScript information. As you can see, we have the JSON placeholder, we have the state, and even this will have the information. So yeah, again, just with this little action thing, we have the information that we need. And this, we are just importing it from Overmind. And we will see later how to convert this action into a functional style. And for that, we are using this helper that will convert this into a functional style. And right now, this will execute exactly the same that the other action is showing, but this functional approach allows you to pipe different methods and to make your code more readable. But that's something for another video. Just wanted to tease it a little. Yeah, that's actions. This is an effect, as you saw. Effect, action. And then we have here, that's our app basically. We're showing a derived state here, and we're showing a button that loads the post. Yeah, but how do we connect this app component to Overmind? Let's see that. First, there is this connect type definition. This is for TypeScript only. It is to let TypeScript know that we will have an Overmind property and which is the type of this Overmind property. Connect already gives us all the information about the Overmind object. It will have a whole state tree, as you can see there, and it will have our actions. That's the API of this Overmind object. State, actions, and well, we have this administration listener, which is something I won't talk about right now. But as you can see, you don't have the effects here, and that's on purpose. The API for our application is the actions and the state. The effects can be replaced, and they can only be called from the actions. That's a design, by design of this library. Yeah, so this is to keep TypeScript happy, but how do we actually inject this property? So that's what the little connect here is for. This is an higher order component. This is a function that will take our application and will return a new component that basically wraps our app component, providing the right information and re-rendering app when it needs to be rendered. Yeah, this is the guy that actually injects the property, and we can see it here. If we bring the React Devtools, we can see that our app component is wrapped by this connect app. Connect app props is just an empty object, which is what I rendered. We can see it in index. Here, I just render app, but we have to notice that app is actually the connected version. So that's what's happening. I am rendering the connected app without props, but the state is this overmind object with all this information. And yeah, that's an internal. And then our app component will receive this prop, which is the overmind object. Okay. And then there is all our code, our div, our header, h1, h4, and button. Yeah. Okay, so probably some of you think, wow, I think this could work. I mean, it works very nice with TypeScript. If you were planning to use it, or if you are already using it, this could be a very good match. But it's not necessary. You can use overmind without TypeScript. Right, but how do you actually glue all of this together? Is it hard maybe? Because everything is so automated, everything I showed until now. So it's actually, I think, pretty easy. We can see it now. So we explored already these files, the action files, the effects files, the state file, and we haven't seen this index file. That's the only thing we're missing in this overmind folder. So what the index file is doing, it's setting up our config, which is an object that takes state, action, and effects, and it's instantiating this overmind object here, and then it's creating this connect function based on the overmind information. All the other stuff, which is this declare module overmind and this type connect, is just to keep TypeScript happy. If you remove those, this is what is actually going on, and I think it's quite simple. We create the config object, we create the overmind object, and we create the connect object based on the overmind object. And that's what I'm exporting, because this is what the components use to be connected. And that's it. The other stuff is just for TypeScript to work and doesn't need to be changed. Once you paste it from the guides, you don't need to touch them anymore. That's the connect type, which is basically it takes that tconnect and it says that it will be of type of config. It passes the type information of this config object. And then this one, which is the declare module overmind, which defines this interface iConfig, which is what overmind uses. So the actions, for example, just by saying this is an action from overmind, it will have all the information. It's an implicit typing thing. If I delete this module, then we'll see how this doesn't know about our app anymore. It knows it has a state, but it doesn't know about what effects we define or what is actually the state. But as I said, once you paste this, you can forget about it and everything will just work. Yeah, and by the way, this configuration, it doesn't have to be so simple. You can actually namespace this, yeah, and break it so you can organize your application. But this is just a basic example in which I try to show you what are the things that you can do with the Overmind's Devtools and what are the goodies with the Overmind code. I hope you like it. See ya.